I'm Alex Del Sordo, and you know who's with me today. It's Andrea Buck from Pocock Racing Shells, and we are talking about just a general overview of what we're seeing. Today is deadline day, and we're talking about Masters categories. Now, Andrea, man, I was looking at it, and I get anxious at this point. Like, I get really excited because I know by midnight tonight, scores are due, and I'm one of the first people to see it, right? Aside from CJ, we're already going to know. I'm looking at one specific grouping, and I kind of want your opinion on this. A 76-year-old man against a 42-year-old man. There's not many sports in this world where they can be competitive. And how I'm seeing it, John Alberti, a Washington guy, by the way, versus Aaron Moberg Jones, 42-76, they're actually competitive. And I'm telling you right now, my money with the way the brackets work, I think John Alberti might pull this one off. How do you feel about Masters categories and that kind of age gap right now in our tournament?
There's so much pride on the line. I can only imagine how fired up if you're in your 70s, having the opportunity to compete, and older and wiser, man. Those guys are wily. I know. I rode with the Ancient Mariners in at the Pocock Rowing Center, and they are smart and they are cutthroat. So I would not want to be. I would take nothing for granted in terms of being younger, given the level playing field there with the handicap.
That's a really good point. And we're always looking for upsets. And there's another one in here that I'm excited about. Graham Spittle and Nick Woodfield. Now, there's a gap, 72 and 52, 20-year gap, Andrea. And my money is on an upset coming from Nick Woodfield, a 7 seed.
Wow.
I'm just excited, right? Exactly. So my prediction right now in the Masters Man category is the upset's going to be the 11 seed John Alberti and the 7 seed Nick Woodfield. So I'd like to get your kind of feelings and feedback on the Masters women's side of things.
Well, in the Masters women's side of things, the field is very tight. Actually, there's not a lot in it between any of the brackets. The fastest split coming out of the 1500 was a 144.3 from Jordan Falcone, which that's not nothing for a 41-year-old.
So fast.
That said, our next round is a 1 minute, right? So for the men, for the women, we're moving into a very different, moving from the 1500, which is still, it's a pretty power-based piece, but you got to have some fitness to back that up. I don't know if the 1500 is indicative of really showing the people who are just going to be those power-based, rip it. It might be really ugly, but they can get it done. So
it goes to what you said earlier. You mentioned like age having that skill set, right? Like here's another one, Robert Lee, 76 versus Phil Picaro at 43. Like the guy who's been doing it the longest in these distances, like my money is on them, right? I mean, they're experienced athletes. Now, do you think the 1 minute we kind of know, right? It's not necessarily a great rower. You just need to be strong. Is the 1500 meter piece, do you have to be a great rower to be good at that distance?
I think your efficiency definitely starts to play in that last 300 meters, right? Like you get to a place where you get to the 1,000-meter mark and you can kind of hold things together, maybe take another 20 strokes, but that last 300, that's where the splits can really start to go up when you just have no oxygen left in your body.
And because rowers have been doing it way longer than or they treat the erg differently than indoor rowers or CrossFitters, they understand what's coming down the pike, right? They know what to expect and they might treat it differently. So what are your, give me maybe an upset prediction for the Masters women. Do you think anything's going to come out of a surprise for this round?
Well, I'm really interested to see the Malin Sundstrom match up with Christy Stoddard, Christy's a great rower here in Seattle, who has, I think, the third fastest time out of all the brackets. But she's going up against Malin Sundstrom, who looks like she's coming from more of a CrossFit background, but she holds quite a few world records, including the 5K, the 4-minute piece. So it's going to be interesting to see, again, when you just throw down that raw power and people have their preconceived notions about what they should be pulling or what they can pull. I think the 1 minute is, and for all these events, is just going to be a real opportunity for some crazy things to happen.
I agree.
Again, like when you get those scores, right? Like people are submitting these. It's not like they know what other people in the room are doing.
Exactly.
So yeah. I do understand your excitement for like opening those results.
I'm like getting chills thinking about it right now. Yeah. You said something that blew my mind. We have masters athletes that are world record holders. I don't think the average person watching this understands that concept. These are the fastest people in our sport. How does that, as an onlooker, as someone has a sponsor of the event, how does that make you feel? I mean, how much pride do you get knowing that we have 4 or 5, a dozen world record holders?
It's awesome. And it makes me appreciate this funny little community that we're all a part of. Because you and I are both masters rowers. Like we're of this age bracket. These are our peers. This is kind of our cohort. And I know I'm not training enough to throw down any of these numbers, right? So there's a degree of like mad respect and just kind of awe that comes with people who continue, whether they found the sport later in life or they're people who've been rowing, since they were in high school, who continue to find that passion and just keep grinding and just keep driving. So from that, like, tip of the hat to everyone who's out there in these masters categories.
Well, that's a good way to close out. This has been a Masters breakdown. You've heard it from us here, Andrea Pocock and Alex Lasorda here at Rower's Choice. Our predictions, our upsets, and we look forward to seeing who advances tomorrow in our global challenge. Thanks for watching.